Maya's hands trembled as she slipped the USB drive into Alexander Chen's computer. The office was dark except for the glow of the screen. Her heart pounded so loud she was certain someone would hear it 45 floors below. Looking for something? She spun around, nearly knocking over the coffee mug on his desk. Alexander stood in the doorway, his tie loosened, jacket slung over his shoulder. His dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Mr. Chen, I was just organizing your files like you asked." "At midnight?" He stepped closer, and Maya could smell his cologne, expensive and intoxicating. "My computer was locked." Maya's mind raced. 3 weeks. She'd been his secretary for 3 weeks, digging for dirt that didn't exist. Her editor Frank wanted a scandal, needed a scandal to save their dying newspaper. But all she'd found was a man who worked 18-hour days, donated millions anonymously, and treated his employees like family. "I needed to access the quarterly reports," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Alexander moved past her, so close their shoulders almost touched. He sat in his chair and gestured to the screen. "Then let me help you find them." For the next hour, they worked side by side. Maya was acutely aware of every movement he made, every breath, every time his hand accidentally brushed hers as they reached for the same document. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to feel anything for him. "Maya," Alexander said softly, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between them. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why are you really here?" Her blood ran cold. "What do you mean? You have an MBA from Columbia. You speak 5 languages. You could be running your own company, but instead, you're scheduling my meetings and answering my phones." He turned to face her fully. Nobody takes a job like this without a reason. Maya had rehearsed this answer 100 times. "Bad breakup. I needed a fresh start, something that didn't require emotional investment." "And is it working?" His voice was lower now, almost a whisper. "The not investing emotionally part?" Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. "Emergency board meeting in Tokyo. I need to leave in an hour. I'll arrange the jet. Come with me." Maya blinked. "What?" "Come to Tokyo. I need someone I can trust, and my last 3 assistants couldn't handle the travel." He stood, and suddenly they were inches apart. "Unless you have a reason to say no?" Every instinct screamed at her to decline. Tokyo meant more time with him, more chances to slip up, more opportunities for her carefully constructed lies to unravel. But it also meant access to his inner circle, to the international deals Frank insisted held the real dirt. "I'll pack a bag," she heard herself say. 12 hours later, Mia stood in a luxury hotel suite overlooking Tokyo's glittering skyline. The flight had been surreal. They'd talked about everything and nothing: books, terrible movies they secretly loved, childhood dreams. Alexander had laughed, actually laughed, and it had transformed his entire face. The cold, calculating CEO had disappeared, replaced by someone warm and genuine. "The view's incredible, isn't it?" Maya jumped. She hadn't heard Alexander enter through the connecting door between their suites. "It's beautiful," she agreed, though she was looking at his reflection in the window, not the city. "I come to Tokyo 4 times a year, and I never get tired of it." He stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Maya, I need to tell you something." Her pulse quickened. Had he figured her out? "What is it?" "This thing between us. I know you feel it too. Don't deny it." His voice was rough with emotion. "Every time you walk into my office, every time you smile at me over your coffee cup, every damn time you stay late because you know I'm staying late. I feel it. Alexander, I'm your secretary. This is inappropriate. I know. Believe me, I know. I've spent 3 weeks trying to convince myself it's nothing. That you're just efficient, just professional, just doing your job." He turned to face her, and the vulnerability in his eyes nearly broke her. But then we're in a plane at 30,000 feet, and you're telling me about the time you tried to teach yourself Japanese from a library book, and all I can think about is how much I want to kiss you. You can't, Maya whispered, but she didn't step back. Give me one good reason why not. Because I'm lying to you. Because I'm here to destroy you. Because when you find out the truth, you'll hate me. Because you don't really know me, she said instead. Then let me know you. We have 3 days in Tokyo. No work talk, no boss and secretary dynamic. Just two people getting to know each other. He reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Unless I'm reading this completely wrong, and you'll tell me to go back to my room. Maya knew what she should do. The smart thing, the professional thing, the thing that would protect both of them from the inevitable heartbreak. But standing there with Alexander looking at her like she was the only person in the world, she couldn't remember why any of that mattered. I'm not telling you to go back to your room, she said quietly. Alexander smiled, really smiled, and it was like watching the sun break through storm clouds. Tomorrow, I'll show you my favorite places in the city. Places I've never taken anyone else. Just be yourself with me, Maya. That's all I'm asking. As he walked back to his suite, Maya pulled out her phone. 7 missed calls from Frank. A text message glowed on her screen. Update? We publish in 10 days. Need something or we're running with what we have. Maya stared at the message until the screen went dark. What they had was nothing. Speculation, rumors, the kind of tabloid garbage that would ruin an innocent man's reputation. She typed back, need more time. Something big here. It was a lie. The only thing big was the mistake she was making with her heart. The next morning, Alexander took her to a tiny ramen shop tucked away in a Shibuya alley. No reservations, no VIP treatment. They sat on wooden stools elbow to elbow with salarymen and students. He ordered for them in perfect Japanese, and when the bowls arrived, steam rising like morning mist, he watched her take the first bite with an almost childlike anticipation. Well, he asked. It's the best thing I've ever tasted. His smile was radiant. My father brought me here when I was 12. Before the company, before the money consumed everything. He said the best experiences in life can't be bought, only discovered. You miss him. Every day. Alexander's chopsticks paused halfway to his mouth. He built Chen Industries from nothing. Immigrant kid with a dream and a laptop. But the success changed him. By the end, he only saw people as assets or liabilities. I swore I'd never become that. You haven't, Maya said softly. Your employees love you. I've seen the way they talk about you when you're not around. What about you, Maya? How do you talk about me when I'm not around? She couldn't meet his eyes. I don't. Liar. But he was smiling. You're terrible at lying, you know that? Your left eye twitches, right there. He reached across and gently touched the corner of her eye. Maya's breath hitched. If only he knew how much she'd been lying, how every day in his office was a performance. Maybe I just don't talk about my boss to other people. Not even to whoever keeps calling you? Your phone's buzzed 6 times since we sat down. Frank. Always Frank, demanding updates, pushing for angles, reminding her that her career hung by a thread. She silenced the phone without looking. Nobody important. They spent the day wandering through Harajuku, where Alexander bought her a vintage kimono from a shop that smelled like mothballs and memories. In Ueno Park, they fed koi fish that churned the water into liquid gold. He told her about his childhood, split between 2 cultures, never quite fitting into either. She told him about growing up in Miami, daughter of immigrants who sacrificed everything so she could chase words and stories. Is that why you became a journalist? He asked. Maya froze. I never said I was a journalist. You didn't have to. The way you ask questions, always digging deeper. The way you observe everything, filing details away. Plus, I ran a background check before I hired you. He said it casually, throwing bread to the koi. Columbia journalism, not business. 3 years at the Herald before you supposedly quit to find yourself. Her world tilted. You knew? I suspected. But I hired you anyway because you were the best candidate, and because I was curious what you were really after. He finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. So what's the story, Maya? What dirt are you trying to dig up on the big bad billionaire? She should run. Should confess everything right here among the cherry blossoms and curious fish. Instead, she asked, why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see if you'd find anything. And because. He stepped closer, and the noise of the park faded to nothing. Because from the moment you walked into my office with that fake resume and those honest eyes, I haven't been able to think straight. So go ahead, investigate me. Turn over every rock. You won't find what you're looking for. How do you know what I'm looking for? Because everyone who gets close to me is looking for the same thing. Proof that I'm like my father. Proof that nobody makes billions by being decent. Proof that it's all an act. His hand cupped her cheek. But you won't find it, Maya, because it doesn't exist. The worst thing about me is that I work too hard and trust too easily. Tears burned her eyes. Alexander, I don't. He pressed his thumb gently to her lips. Don't apologize, don't explain. Just tell me one thing. Right now, in this moment, is any of this real for you? Maya thought about Frank, about the newspaper, about the career she'd worked so hard to build. Then she thought about the man standing before her, who'd known she was lying and given her a chance anyway. Who worked 18-hour days not for profit but because he genuinely cared. Who looked at her like she was worth more than any story she could write. It's real, she whispered. God help me, it's the most real thing I've felt in years. Alexander kissed her then, soft and sweet, and Maya felt the last of her defenses crumble. People walked past, some glancing, some smiling. In Tokyo, surrounded by strangers, she could almost pretend they were just two people falling in love. Almost forget the deadline ticking in her pocket, the editor demanding blood, the truth that would destroy everything. That night, back at the hotel, Maya's phone exploded with messages. Frank, 10 days or I'm running with what we have. Your call. Her stomach churned as she read the attached draft. They'd pieced together innuendo and assumption into something that looked damning. Anonymous sources claiming Alexander manipulated stock prices. Whistleblowers who didn't exist alleging labor violations. It was fiction dressed up as journalism, and it would ruin him. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could stop this with one email. Tell Frank the truth, there was no story because there was no crime. But that meant admitting she'd failed, that she'd let emotions compromise her objectivity. It meant watching the Herald die and her career with it. The connecting door opened. Alexander stood there in a t-shirt and pajama pants, impossibly human without his armor of expensive suits. Can't sleep either, he asked. Maya slammed her laptop shut. Just restless. Come here. Alexander held out his hand, and she took it without thinking. He led her to the balcony where Tokyo sprawled beneath them like a circuit board of light. My father used to say that when you can't sleep, it's because you're wrestling with a choice. The universe won't let you rest until you decide. What if both choices are wrong? Then you pick the one you can live with. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, and she leaned into his warmth. Maya, whatever you're hiding, whatever you're afraid of, it doesn't change what I feel. I know that sounds insane. We've known each other less than a month. But I spent 10 years keeping everyone at arm's length, and then you walked in and everything shifted. Maya closed her eyes. This was the moment. She should tell him everything, throw herself on his mercy, hope that the connection between them was strong enough to survive the truth. But the words stuck in her throat, trapped behind years of ambition and pride. What if I told you I'm not a good person, she said instead. I'd say you're wrong. I'd say I've watched you stay late to help the night janitor whose English isn't great. I've seen you pay for the intern's lunch when you thought no one was looking. I've read the notes you leave on my desk, the ones where you've already solved problems before I knew they existed. He turned her to face him. Good people doubt themselves, Maya. It's the bad ones who sleep soundly. She kissed him then, desperate and urgent, trying to pour every unspoken apology into the press of her lips. Alexander responded with equal intensity, his hands tangling in her hair, her back pressed against the balcony railing. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Not just tonight. When we go back to New York, stay. Not as my secretary, as my partner. In business, in life, in everything. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking you to take a chance on something real." Maya wanted to say yes. Wanted it so badly her chest ached with the yearning. "Instead," she said, "ask me again in New York. When we're back in the real world." Something flickered in his eyes, disappointment maybe, or understanding. "Okay. New York." But New York came too fast. The plane touched down at JFK, and Maya's phone came alive with messages. "Frank, meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Story runs in 48 hours with or without your input." She stared at the screen as Alexander gathered their bags, chatting easily about showing her his favorite restaurant in Brooklyn, about meeting his sister, about all the tomorrows he was planning with her in them. The next morning, Maya stood outside the Herald building, her chest tight with dread. She'd barely slept, Alexander's words echoing in her mind. Take a chance on something real. But journalism was real too, wasn't it? The truth was real. Even if this particular truth was built on lies. Frank's office smelled like old coffee and desperation. He looked up from his computer, bags under his eyes that matched her own. "Tell me you have something," he said without preamble. "I have something." Maya sat down, her decision made somewhere between Tokyo and now. Alexander Chen is clean. Spotless. The rumors about insider trading? False. Labor violations? He pays above market rate and offers full benefits to part-time workers. The offshore accounts? Charity foundations he runs anonymously. "Frank, there's no story here." "Then we make one." "No." The word came out stronger than she expected. "We don't. I won't put my name on fiction." Frank's expression hardened. "You think this is about journalism? The Herald is dying, Maya. We're 3 months from bankruptcy. We need clicks, outrage, engagement. Your Boy Scout billionaire is the perfect target." "He's not a target. He's a person. He's a story, and you're a journalist. Or you were." Frank pulled up the draft article on his screen. "This runs tomorrow morning with or without your blessing. At least if you're on board, you still have a career." Maya stared at the screen, at the carefully constructed lies that would destroy Alexander's reputation. She thought about his smile in the ramen shop, his vulnerability in the park, the way he'd known she was lying and trusted her anyway. "Then I guess I don't have a career." She stood, legs shaking but voice steady. "You run that story, and I'll spend every penny I have fighting it. I'll go on record saying it's false. I'll burn every bridge I've built in this industry to protect him." "You're in love with him." Frank's voice was disgusted. "You compromised your objectivity." "No. I found my objectivity. The objective truth is that Alexander Chen is exactly who he appears to be, and we're the ones willing to lie for profit." She walked to the door, then paused. "I'm not killing this story because I love him, Frank. I'm killing it because it's not true. That used to matter to us." Maya went straight to Chen Industries. Security recognized her and waved her through, but when she reached Alexander's floor, his new temporary assistant blocked her path. "Mr. Chen isn't taking visitors. It's important." "I'm sorry, Ms. Rodriguez, but after you quit so suddenly," he asked not to be disturbed by. "Let her in." Alexander's voice cut through the office. He stood in his doorway, looking tired and hurt and still so achingly handsome it made her chest tight. "It's okay, Jennifer. I'll see her." His office felt different now, colder despite the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. Alexander didn't sit, didn't offer her a seat. Just stood with his arms crossed, waiting. "The Herald is running a story about you tomorrow," Maya said, forcing the words out. "It's lies, all of it, but it'll damage your reputation. I tried to stop it, but my editor won't listen. And you came here to warn me. How noble. Alexander, please. I know I don't deserve your understanding, but you need to prepare. Get your lawyers ready, make a statement. I'll go on record saying it's false. I'll testify if I have to." "Why?" His voice was ice. "Why would you do that after spending weeks trying to destroy me?" "Because it's not true. Because you're..." Her voice cracked. "Because you're exactly who you said you were, and I was too cynical to see it until it was too late." Alexander laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Do you know what the worst part is? I knew. From day one, I knew you were hiding something, and I still let you in. I actually thought maybe, just maybe, you'd see who I really was and choose differently. I am choosing differently. I walked away from my career. I'm here, fighting for you. You're here because you feel guilty. That's not the same thing as choosing me, Maya." He turned to the window, his reflection ghostly against the New York skyline. "Did any of it mean anything? Tokyo? The things we said? All of it meant something. Everything." Maya moved closer, desperate for him to understand. "I went to Tokyo looking for a monster and found the best man I've ever known. That wasn't fake. My feelings weren't fake. But everything else was. Your name, your credentials, your reason for being here. How am I supposed to trust anything you say when your entire existence in my life has been a lie?" The words hit like physical blows, but Maya forced herself to stand tall. "You're right. I lied about who I was, why I was here. But I never lied about how I felt. And I'm not lying now when I tell you that I love you." Alexander's shoulders stiffened. "Don't." "I love you," she repeated, stronger now. "I love how you work yourself to exhaustion because you care about every single employee. I love how you eat ramen with salarymen because your father taught you humility. I love how you knew I was investigating you and gave me a chance anyway. I love..." "Stop." He spun around, and she saw tears threatening in his eyes. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to waltz in here with confessions and expect forgiveness. Do you have any idea what it's like? Spending your whole life wondering if people want you or your money? And then someone comes along who seems different, who seems real, and it turns out she's the biggest liar of all? I know I hurt you. I know sorry isn't enough. But Alexander, I need you to hear this." Maya pulled out her phone, opened her recording app. "I've been documenting everything. Every clean transaction, every charitable donation, every single piece of evidence that proves you're legitimate. I'm taking all of it to every media outlet that will listen. I'm going to war with my own industry to protect you. I don't need protection. I need..." He shook his head. "I don't know what I need." "Time," Maya said quietly. "You need time. So I'll give you that. But first, let me help you fight this story. Please. Not as someone you love, not even as someone you like. Just as someone who knows the truth and refuses to let lies win." For a long moment, Alexander just looked at her. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "David, I need the legal team in my office in 30 minutes. We have a situation." He hung up and met her eyes. "You'll give your statement to my lawyers. You'll provide every piece of evidence you have. And then, Maya, you'll leave. You'll walk out of this building and out of my life, and you'll let me figure out how to survive both the Herald and you." "Okay," she whispered, even though it felt like dying. "Okay." The next 3 hours were brutal. Maya sat in a conference room surrounded by lawyers, recounting every detail of her investigation. She handed over her files, her notes, her recordings. When they asked why she was cooperating, she told them simply, "Because it's the truth, and I'm tired of running from it." By the time she left Chen Industries, it was dark. Her phone buzzed with a message from Frank. "Heard you're cooperating with Chen. You're done in this industry. Hope he was worth it." Maya typed back, "He was worth everything." Then she blocked his number. She went home to her tiny apartment and waited. The next morning, the Herald ran their story, but within hours, Alexander's legal team had released a comprehensive rebuttal. Every claim was methodically dismantled with evidence, documentation, and most damning of all, Maya's testimony. She'd gone on record, not just defending Alexander, but exposing the Herald's journalistic malpractice. The backlash was swift. By afternoon, 3 other publications had picked up the real story, a failing newspaper fabricating scandals for clicks. Frank was forced to resign. The Herald issued a formal apology and retraction. And Maya's phone rang with job offers from outlets impressed by her integrity, even as others blacklisted her for betraying her editor. She ignored all of it. None of it mattered without Alexander. A week passed. Then Maya started freelancing, writing pieces about ethics in journalism, about the cost of chasing stories instead of truth. They were good, some of the best work she'd ever done. But every night, she came home to an empty apartment and wondered if doing the right thing was supposed to hurt this much. On a Tuesday evening, 3 weeks after the Herald debacle, someone knocked on her door. Maya opened it to find Alexander standing in her hallway, holding takeout bags that smelled like Thai food. "You remembered my order," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I remember everything." He looked tired, older somehow, but there was something softer in his eyes. "Can I come in?" Maya stepped aside, her heart hammering. They sat on her worn couch, the takeout between them like a peace offering. "I've been angry," Alexander said finally. "Hurt. Betrayed. All of it justified. I know. But I've also been miserable. I wake up expecting to see your coffee cup on my desk. I turn to tell you something funny, and you're not there. I go to Tokyo on business, and all I can think about is feeding koi with you in Ueno Park.